Hey everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, we'll be talking about how to crack an OET exam in just 10 days. This video is not to discuss about the format of the exam or give you any information of how the exam is conducted. But this video is more so about the resources that you should be using in these 10 days to prepare for the exam. Well, a similar kind of video I've done about 4 months ago in which I discussed the different parts of the exam and different resources that you should be using to prepare for this exam in 10 days. That video was in a Hindi language, so a lot of you were requesting that please make a video in English. So that's why I'm going to make this video. It's going to be very similar to that video. So if you've not watched that video, please watch this video, or if you have watched that video before, it's going to be a good quick revision for you in this video. So I will be discussing all 4 parts of the exam as they appear in the exam. So let's get started. So the first part of the exam is the listening test. So to prepare for the listening test, I recommend a YouTube channel. It goes by the name of OET Listening Test. They're approximately 55 to 60 minute long videos in which they cover about 42 questions. The video format is very similar to as it will appear in the exam. So it gives you a very good practice. All you need for it is a paper and a pencil. So as the video will be playing, you need to note down all your answers on a piece of paper, and by the end of the video, they will give all the answers. You just need to check your answers by the end of the video. In this, I recommend that you should at least try to do 2 to 3 papers a day. So if you have 10 days, approximately you'll be able to get done with 30 papers. I think 30 papers are a good amount of papers to practice before going into the exam. I personally believe that the listening part of the test is the easiest part of the test if done carefully. And if you ideally want to hit a number and you're aiming for a number, I recommend by the end of 3 to 4 days you should at least aim for 35, a score of 35. Even if you're not getting that score of 35, it's fine. You will still have 10 to 15 tests, and I think those numbers are still enough for you to get a good practice by the end of the to be able to sit in the exam. So that was about the listening part of the exam. A link to the channel will be in the description box below. The second part of the test is the reading test. The reading test of the exam is a very time sensitive section in the exam. So what basically the examiner wants to test you on is how fast you can actually read. So before you start with any of those practice tests, I highly recommend that you should spend at least 3 to 4 days just reading medical abstracts or medical articles. You can just go directly on Google, go to Wikipedia and just start reading abstracts. Basically what you will try to do in these 3 to 4 days is just try to increase your reading speed so that you can skim read and actually understand while you do that. So once you're done with that, you will have approximately 6 days left. So what I recommend you to do is that try at least do 2 papers a day, 2 practice papers a day. So by the end of the 6 days, you will be approximately done with 12 papers. And I strongly believe that 12 papers of the reading part of the exam before you appear in the exam is a good amount of number to get a good practice for the reading section. Especially when you have already practiced 3 to 4 days, you're already given 3 to 4 days to get your reading speed increased. Link to all those practice papers, and if you want to read some abstracts as well, just plain abstracts without questions, will also be in the description box below. It will be a Google Drive link. So just open the link and find those papers out in that link. That's up for the reading part of the exam. Let's move on to the next section. Well, I've done a separate video on detailed reading section of the exam. If you want to check that video out, the link to that video will also be in the description box below. Please do check that video out if you have doubts in the reading section of the exam. So now let's move on to the next section of the exam. The third part of the exam is the writing section. I personally feel the writing section of the exam is the most difficult section of this exam or any other English exam. Before sitting this exam, I already sat an IELTS exam in the January of 2019, and I failed that exam only in the writing section by 0.5. So the writing section of the exam was a big challenge for me. So what I found out through my experience of sitting an IELTS exam and OET exam is that in the writing section of the exam, more than practice, you need to know the set amount of rules and the guidelines that the examiner will follow while evaluating your paper. For this, I recommend 2 YouTube channels, OET Online and Official OET. There's a tutor by the name of Steve. So you need to find his videos on both these YouTube channels. Just watch his, there are I think webinars. He has done like 7 to 8 webinars on the writing section of the exam. Just watch those webinars, and don't watch them once, just watch them 2 to 3 times, so that you get all those rules pretty much refined in your head, that, and so that while you're actually practicing writing a part of this test, you have those rules in your mind, and you just write, just practice writing or write in the exam, just following those set rules. So more than, like, before you start, I recommend 3 to 4 days you spend just watching the videos and to just get the whole grip of those rules. So after you're done with the videos, what I recommend you to do is just go through some sample writings. The Google Drive link that I provide in the description box below have about 50 of those. Just go through them, take about 1 to 2 days, just read through them. While you're reading through them, what I will recommend you to do is that please emphasize on the sentence formation, and whatever rules that you've learned from the Steve videos, just see the implementation. So after you're done with that, you will have approximately 4 to 5 days. In these 4 to 5 days, you just need to write about 3 to 4 letters a day. When you write those letters, just think about the rules. And one more thing, what's the most important thing, what I believe in the writing section, is simplicity. It is not an exam like IELTS where you have to write a very fancy English. In this exam, what the examiner wants you to write is that you have to write in a very simple way, so that the next reader can understand your letters pretty much very easily. It should not be a task for them to understand that. So after you have written those letters, if you have somebody to evaluate those letters, it's well and good. But if you don't have anybody who can, read through your letters, evaluate them for you, what you need to do is just have faith in yourself. If you have followed the rules, if you have written those letters by the rules, just have faith in yourself that whatever you're doing is right, and you have followed all the rules, and that is it. Have faith in yourself. That is the most important part, most important thing for the writing section of the exam. And that is it for the writing part of the exam. Now let's move on to the next section of the exam. Now let's move on to the fourth part of the exam. The fourth part of the exam is the speaking section. Well, comparing it to an IELTS exam, where an examiner is sitting in front of you and they're evaluating your speaking skills, they're evaluating your expressions, they're evaluating a lot of things, your body language and everything. But in this exam, there will be no examiner sitting in front of you. There will be a person who will be acting as a patient or the patient's relative. So it's basically all your voice. It's basically all your speaking skills. So they will be actually recording that recording of conversation, and then they will send it to Melbourne, where it will be evaluated. So basically this exam is all about your speaking skill. Now for this, I would like to give you a small hack. Before you sit in the exam, just don't imagine that exam, whatever the person is acting in front of you, don't imagine him as that you're giving an exam to him, or this is an exam for you. Just imagine him as a patient, the real patient. Just imagine him as a relative of the real patient. Be it you are a doctor, be it you are a nurse, be it you're a physiotherapist, or any other profession that you're in, just imagine it as your real patient. When you do that, it just gives us such a good amount of effect. The things will come so naturally to you. Like when you're talking to your patient, right, you will be so sympathetic. Like, just act as it's a real circumstance and the patient is sad about something, then the sympathy that actually will come from within. That empathy for the patient, that kindness of the patient will come from within. So just if you act like that in that circumstance, that will really boost your speaking. Now, if you want to learn more about the rules that you need to follow in the speaking section of the exam, I highly recommend again to watch the videos. They're really informative, and they will give you a nice hold as into like how you should be approaching different situations in the exam input too. I also would recommend that you should not cram up sentences, that you should not just cram like 5-6 sentences and just repeat those sentences. It becomes really robotic in the exam, and whoever is evaluating exam will understand that you're not actually saying all those things according to the situation, but you have just learned those things beforehand and just blabbing them out. One more side tip that I would like to give you here is that if you have some time, please go to a messaging app called Telegram. Try and find over there OET speaking groups, and in those groups, try and find a speaking partner. If you can find a speaking partner over there, try and practice role plays. Both of you can really benefit from there, and it will be really helpful for you in the exam. But if you cannot find somebody over there, as was my case, because there's not much time left, so if you can't find somebody over there, it's still fine. Just believe in yourself. What I have told you in this video, in this part of the section of the exam, just try and implement that. Also watch the videos for the rules, basic rules that you need to follow while you are doing the speaking part of the test, and have faith in yourself that whatever you're doing is right, and you will be able to ace it really fine. Also, if you want to practice a little bit, then you can just practice in front of a mirror. Just imagine that a person in the mirror is the patient or the patient relative, and you can just try and be a doctor or nurse or whatever your profession is, and just try and practice from there. And that's about it for the speaking part of the exam. That's all with this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helps you a lot if you out there who are confused what sources of information to use from. All the sources I provided in this video are pretty high yield that I have found out through my experience of giving this exam. So if you like the video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions regarding OET exam or any other medical queries you have, you can hit me up on Instagram. The link to that will be over here somewhere, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching once again, and stay tuned for the next one.